Hello, everybody, and welcome to the ninth episode of the House of the Dev podcast. This is Raphael Colantonio from Austin, Texas. Hi, Raph.
Hello, Peter.
My name is Peter Salnikov, and this is the last episode in this season, in the season one. So there's just the two of us, finally. And I think this is going to be some sort of leisure, chill out episode to wrap things up and talk about the podcast, talk about our future plans, and talk about the experience that we've got and we shared during this first season.
You are entering the House of the Dev.
Well, to be honest, for me, it was a completely terrific experience. If I would be, 10 years younger, I would probably say that this is completely unbelievable. We've got a lot of questions from our audience, actually, and many people asked us about how in the world did we even come up with this idea, and how did we get everything settled for this? Well, the easy answer is that all you have to do is start a podcast with Raphael Colantonio. Well, and how do you get to that point? Think about it as a journey that may take years, guys. So yeah, Raph, I gotta thank you. Thanks, man. It was awesome, and I'm really happy that you are a part of it.
Thank you too for getting me into this thing. I don't have like a natural tendency to go there, like podcasts and social media is not really my thing so much. I mean, I like to participate to it occasionally. It feels like a bit of a breath of I don't know if exposure, but like expression, which is kind of cool. But I'm shy of all those things, so I would never have done it on my own. And so thank you very much. And the people we got on board, having been in this industry for such a long time, I think was pretty easy to get them to talk to us, which grateful for. And as far as like you and I mean, we've started to talk 6 years ago or something, and
6 years ago. No, I think it's 4 years ago. After Pray.
After Pray, yeah. And
4 years is a while.
It's a while, yeah. And that friendship developed among based on common taste for a variety of things, including making music and all. So yeah, it's been a cool adventure.
Yeah, so I think it's important to say that the Unreal Engine Dev Contest has come to an end. And this year we've got about 300 participants, which is kind of great. It gets bigger every year. And I'd like to say thank you to everyone who had the guts to participate in this year's event. I really hope that we will see you next year. Because only getting through the first line of filters, through which your application comes on this contest, only getting through this first set of filters is a big deal. So, which tells us that your game, your project, your idea is not crap at all, and that's a huge deal. So yeah, our initial plan was to make 12 episodes. We have started doing this back in June, I believe. The plan was to release 2 episodes 2 times a month, but it turned out that maintaining the level of topics and guests and keeping up to the tempo is pretty hard, and we had to choose, to just do 12 episodes, whatever they are, or make the list shorter, but make the episodes themselves deeper and make the quality higher. Yeah, but anyway, we've got a lot of plans for the future. We've got some guests who are already who already said yes to our propositions. Raph worked on it. I worked on it a lot. Obviously, I don't think that we should give you names right now because who knows what can happen. But I think that we can tell that we did not discuss the music in this first season. We did not discuss the matters of diversity in the gaming industry in the first season. There's a lot of still uninvited legends out there for us to interrogate about their experience. So there's about 4 guests in the works, if I can say so. I cannot say if we will release these episodes immediately, or if we will have some kind of advance, to release them as soon as we find it needed, comfortable, and as soon as the time comes. So anyway, we're really looking forward to do another season. Maybe even make more episodes, and I think it's. Have you ever read comments to the show, Raph?
Yeah, I mean, I can't understand the
took
Russian
a dive.
but yeah, I saw the ones that were in English language, and it was good. There were a lot of very very excited, enthusiastic people, gamers and developers.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm happy. I was happy to see the reception of that kind, and there was one particular thing people asked us about. It was to add an option to ask questions to us or to our guests. I mean, send them over even email or even Patreon. But I'm afraid that this is impossible. We did not discuss it, but I think that we can do it right now, because it was impossible in season 1. We've been thinking about it, of course, and I think that it will stay impossible in season 2. And the reason is simple: we only get an hour of time to talk to a person, and we often don't get the chance to ask and talk about everything we would like to. And there's always a risk that our connection will fail or something else will happen. So we are always really, really short on time. And I don't think that we are in a position to, stretch the podcast to ask questions from our listeners. With all due respect, I respect the will and the desire to ask questions kind of directly, but there's technical reasons because of which we just cannot afford that. Yeah, that's the right word. We cannot afford it. So, Raph, your game Weird West is about to come out. The release date is the day after tomorrow. We can say that, and you seem relaxed. And what's your current status? What's your pre-release job right now?
The reason I'm so relaxed is, and by the time this episode gets edited and shown to the public, I will have announced, I guess early, like in a few days, I'm going to announce that the game has been pushed back a few months. And the reason is, as much as the game is fun, we also really are committed to delivering the best experience we can. And, as developers, I'm sure anyone who's been a developer know that there's, releasing a game that still needs a little bit of work, still needs a bit of polish and debugging is suicidal. And we don't want to do that. And also, as gamers, people get pissed off, so we don't want piss off players either. So, I think it's for the best. We're just pushing it a little more. It's, cost us much more money, cost us, it's just, but people stay at work instead of having it off their back, but I think it's for the best.
I've had a touch of the game. You've sent me the preview code, and I've played for about like maybe 12 hours or so. And it's a huge. It may not look like this when you are scrolling the Instagram screenshots and short videos, but it's a huge and complex game, and I mean it did not seem that way all along, because until you see it, you will probably never learn. In a couple of months, what can be fixed and polished in a game with a deep simulation like Weird West?
Yeah, so for us, one of the power of immersive sims is what's the size of the space of possibilities. Everything that can happen, you can do things in different order, and there's not only the sandbox aspect of it, but also the script.
There's vendettas, there's physics, there's quests, there's crazy amount of stuff.
So there's a lot of stuff. So and if you don't force players to play in a very linear way, then it's great for them. But the counterpart of that, I would say, also in a game like Skyrim or something like that, is that you get so many different type of experiences that it's a matter of testing it enough. And so that's where we are. The surface, the most of the main branches are working pretty well right now. I mean, there's still some stuff to iron out, but the extra time that we're taking is really to get some of those bumps out of the way, and also some of those little consequences, little things that happen when you play the game. Some of them are actually fun. Some of them are we didn't know our game does that, and it's cool, so let's keep it in. And some of them is we heard someone killing people, burying them, and then collecting their skulls, because we have this system in the game, and the skull, you can sell them for $8 a pop in a shop. So then it's an exploit to make tons of money just by killing people, burying them, and then getting their skull out, their bones, and selling them to the store. So that's the kind of thing where it's just an economy breaker. So it's easy to fix. And if we did not do this beta that we're doing right now, it's a pretty heavy mass scale beta, then we would never have found that, So for us, it takes a second to just go into the database and drop the cost of skulls. But then there are some more things that are more inconvenient. So that's really what we are. The time that we are now taking is going to be to just make it as smooth as possible.
Mm-hmm. I really hope
it's a great place to be in.
Yeah,
it's a great place to be in, because we're not adding anything. We're not adding features or wondering how the game can be fun. It's more about listening to all the feedback that we're getting these days through the beta, and addressing everything we can.
Well, and I cannot help but asking you about your current mood, because a couple of years ago you took a huge break. That's when we started. Our small talks through Facebook, and then you came back in the shape of an indie developer with a game much, I wouldn't say humble, but it's not a AAA title. We all understand that it's a different scope. And then the COVID hit the world, and the processes changed in all of the in the whole life. I mean, the educational system, the shops, and video game development as well. They've mutated into something new, into something different. So can you tell us about the change in the workflow that you've experienced when developing Weird West?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, because COVID is so universal to everyone, I'm sure everybody has experienced that, so everybody can understand what we went through. I think it's just an acceleration of probably what would have happened. You would think the world is always like trying to get into more virtual and ways to develop and communicate. And that has just like put everything on the fast lane. We're just like, well, okay, it's today, in fact. And in our case, we already had planned to work remotely, so it was not a huge shock. I think, frankly, the part that was difficult is not being able to see ever our collaborators. Like some of them are in Australia. Julien, for example, my executive producer and also CEO of the company. So I haven't seen him for 2+ years, and that has been humanly painful. Of course, and everybody can relate. I think we all have our own version of that. In general, though, I would say the thing about remote working that has been draining over time is everything relies on project management programs like Jira or Basecamp or some other stuff that there's like 10 of them, and those tools are very spammy. Like Michael just updated his task. Great, I'm glad to know. And now you have that, like we have 100 of them per day, right? Based on where you are in the chain of command, or like So then you are super spammed all the time, and if you're too spammed, then guess what happens? You just don't read them enough, because then you tend to like you tend to think, oh, that's probably just a spam, delete, and then you might have missed something important. So I think the tools need to evolve again. We are like still at the stage where they don't scale. They don't scale for like big teams with by being so spammy. It's just an inconvenience, and it goes against communication in a way, I think. But to answer your question, COVID aside, I think for me, making games has always been, and hopefully always will be, a result of me and my friends wanting to bring something to the gamers that is meaningful to us and hopefully meaningful to them. And I feel like there are so many of these in us. Think of it as anything, as a piece of art. Like if you're a painter, if you're a musician or anything, like how many do you write just songs after songs without any meaning, like you're a contractor, or do you write this because it comes from somewhere? And I think for us, the games, since Arx Fatalis until now Weird West, they always have their place in our kind of like in our life showcase, or whatever you want to call it, like something that is like, okay, that was a part of my life, that was part of my life, that was part of my life, that was something that I wanted to express back then. And so that to me is really the bottom line of all of that. When I took a break, I didn't have anything. I was like, well, that's it. I've pretty much expressed everything I want. And I think games, in my ideal world, every game would be made with that in mind. They would not be the result of some publisher who needs a new racing game in their lineup for 2023 because otherwise they're going to be the competition, blah blah blah. But it would be instead someone that is passionate in the world about making that game. How do you look at it now that you are yourself a developer?
Well, one thing I would like to say is that in the past few years, there's been a lot of whining and complaining about how hard it is to make games, and what a hard labor it is to work in the gaming industry. I'm not saying it's easy at all, but I think it's too much. It's just too much. I am like after looking at it for about 15 years from a side. I was in PR, I was in journalism, I was in media, somewhere around. I was in sound design, I was in contractor music for some studios. And now I'm almost half a year into the work itself, and well, I do not get the feeling that I'm in the middle of some coal mine or something. Not at all, no sir. And well, I think this is the question of that. Well, after reading latest Jason's book, I mean Jason Schreier, one of our guests. Hello, Jason, if you're listening to it. After reading, well, actually, after reading Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, and after reading Press Reset, people can think that people may say that this is an awful job and it's a very hard career and blah blah blah. But I think that game development, the creative game development, the game development that we are talking about here, that you are talking about, not like I'm a designer, I'm going to go to mobile development and make another match 3 game. That's also game development. Okay, I get it. But we're talking about, people who give away their soul to this, their best years of their lives. This is a choice. It's a choice multiplied by the calling, I would say that. And, well, you can complain about a lot of things. About the, cheating partners, about lack of money, lack of time mostly, about the gamers and stuff. But this is a wonderful job. And it's very interesting because, video games as a technology, video games are always on the brink of, some sort of new achievements, the digital achievements and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of creative process in this work, and there's a lot of exploration in this job, and it makes my heart beat faster.
Now loading the House of the Dev.
Speaking about our studio, we have passed the stage of heavy documentary. Some people probably know that every game is, in the first place, it's a ton of paperwork, and then you start doing something real. And last week I've installed Unreal Engine 4. Can you believe that? Because I wanted to save some money. Later on, we will find I have already found a gifted sound designer, but at this stage, we will probably do all the audio ourselves, and then we will get help. Yeah, so now I want to figure out. I've already figured out how the audio on Unreal Engine works. The basics, of course, So another thing I would want to ask you about. Last month, a lead level designer joined our team. And she said that we are focusing too much on our, paperwork and describing things. And the thing is that we've got our own original system because, our game is focused on original, some sort original topic. We've figured out that we will need an original system, and planning this system, writing tons of Google Docs and spreadsheets, and we've prototyped the battle several times with the help of several board games. We just ripped the hexes out of one box, ripped the figures out of another box, and we've assembled our own tabletop constructor to test battles. So the level designer. She said that we are focusing too much on this, and everyone in the team should install Unreal Engine and be more real about it and try things in there without writing so much stuff on paper. Well, I'm not saying she's wrong, and I can say that she's right because we've got a lot of stuff prepared before anyone will start coding or prototyping it in the engine. But she has her point, and I wanted to ask: Are you more of a documentation person or more of a experimental person?
I've been through both phases, and frankly, I assume different successful companies are doing either. I don't think there's one way or the other. Personally, my very first game, Arx Fatalis, and I think it's because I had so much time, because even starting it, that everything was like on paper practically. The levels and the rules of combat and everything. And then as the company became more mature, evolved, grew, etc., we were more, I wouldn't say freestyling it, but I think we have now the balance which worked for us between, it doesn't hurt to think a lot of things. It doesn't hurt to come up with combat rules, and you might say like dexterity multiplied by this divided by this times the level or whatever it is that your thing is, and here are the different kind of stats and all that. I don't think it hurts to have that on paper, as long as you realize that this is just a snapshot of what you have in your head right now, and it's very, very flexible and it's going to change, as long as you don't get attached religiously to it, because I think that might be the problem sometimes. Back in the days, like say 15, 20 years ago, you would, publishers would ask you for very in-depth document design that is static, like that will never change because it's contractual almost. And those days are gone, I believe. So, but it's good to think about all those things, and then you experiment directly with the sandbox, make some prototypes, and then realize that what you wrote on paper, so at least it got you to ask yourself the right questions, and it's more like it's more like to have a list of things to consider more than here is how exactly we're going to do it, And some of it is exactly how you're going to do it because you already know it. You've seen it in 10 different games, and it will just work. But some of it you probably will be wrong on your first attempt on paper. And specifically to game design, to level design, by the way, because I think game design in general, you can split it in so many categories as you want. But if you want to just like say, okay, there's the systems and there's the levels, which it's a simplification. The systems, you can pretty much to some degree have them on paper, at least listing the powers that you're gonna have, for example, or whatever. And you might get 7 out of 10 of them right, and then the 3 that you thought would be fun, you don't do it. You just go back to the whiteboard and find another one, or as you were prototyping, you find something more fun or whatever. But the level design itself, other than the theme, and by the theme I mean like the high level objectives of that mission, of that level, which is to kill the prince or whatever it is. Other than that, it is very hard to design anything on paper, I think. So maybe she's even more not biased, but she leans even more towards not improvisation, but like experimentation, because she comes from level design, which is probably more true.
I think that at some point I was scared of studying Unreal Engine, studying these interfaces and stuff, because the last time I got my hands on something close to programming was in like 6th grade, in Turbo Basic, like Screen 7, Go to, blah blah blah, and then since that day, technology did a huge step forward, and I launch Unreal Engine, and everything is well, okay. Let's consider that I evolved a bit too. Because everything is called by common names and totally understandable. What button does what function, and to me it occurred like a modern day engine is a mix of Adobe Photoshop and Fruity Loops, like something like that. Everything is visual.
Yeah.
You connect one shit to another shit, and then it doesn't work. Well, then the fun starts.
Yeah, it's weird because on one hand it's easier than ever, and on the other hand it's also harder than ever. I think the visual programming system like Blueprint that you're talking about, or some other systems that are part of Unreal, they are in some ways easier than before because you just put your boxes and test it and it works. So if you want to do something pretty simple, it's simpler than before. But frankly, it's also way more complex because it now makes a difference between like some really, really good... You can tell now the difference between game designers that are not as programmers as others. And there are some things that I can't do at all. Like I can do the basics, but then if I want to go deeper, it's just impossible because like now you have to be a programmer to even understand what those concepts are. Like when you bring those boxes from Blueprint with all the parameters, the outputs and the inputs, etc. And like the concepts are very, very close to an advanced language. It's just that it's a visual version, but it doesn't make it much easier, frankly. It can quickly become a super mess. So that's where then you have like all these different people that use the same tools, but not at the same level, if you see what I mean.
Well, I think that we can easily compare it to the music industry because, I mean, in the 60s, in the 70s, even in the 80s, in the 90s, you had to, put a lot of work into making your music heard, basically, to become accessible, to become available in shops and gather some audience. Right now, anybody can go to special middleware services and pay $35 and now you're all over Spotify and Apple Music and Google Music and shit. But now you have to put even more work to impress somebody, because the fact that your music is in stores, that's not impressive at all. The same goes with video games. There's a lot of people trying out their skills, participating in contests, in game jams, hackathons, whatever. And you, like 10 years ago, you could still judge a game by the cover. I mean, by the graphics. And if you saw a game with gorgeous graphics, you went like, oh shit, this is beautiful. How could they even do this? Nowadays, if you look at the game with random game, like blind watching games over YouTube with your grandma, she will not, see any difference between, expensive games with gorgeous graphics and indie games with gorgeous graphics, because the basic gorgeous graphics comes for free once you install the Epic Games launcher and download Unreal Engine 4. That's the reality of modern world, and to compete, to outstand, you have to find another ways.
Yeah. Which
ways are, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a great thing, frankly. I think it's only sad if for the groups who have relied on that, on investing tons of money into graphics and arts and getting away with making a game like that, I think it doesn't work anymore, right? I think now the substance and the content and the intelligence behind your game matters more than ever. Not only it matters more than ever, but I think there's also I mean, people will always be attracted to amazing art. There's no doubt about it. But I think there's also some sort of we're getting used to it, so we're not like as impressed anymore. So, for example, right now I'm playing the game called Inscription, you know, from Devolver, who's also a publisher, and it's really fun. It's you know, deep, and there's some underlying layers and like little bits of story that come by surprise, and it's a very sophisticated game. Now, it's not, you know, it's not like all physics and all, like it's more contained and more controlled than that. But still, it's kind of sandboxy in the way you can evolve your cards, and it's some sort of a strategy game, some sort of card game with a cool atmosphere and some cool bits around it. There's more to it than just the game, and it's doesn't bother me at all. I'm you know, they went with retro art, kind of, you know, it's kind of 3D but with retro post-process on top of it, so you feel like you're playing in the 80s or something. But in a way, it forces you, it allows you to focus more on the content as a gamer, and also, I guess, as a developer. And so that's a very interesting phenomenon to me. Like, on one hand, you have like the games that are throwing hundreds of millions of dollars to be the you know, to win the art war. But even those, if they don't have good content beside the art, they won't go anywhere. And that's new. I mean, that's new. That's like 5 years, 10 years new, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And I think it's going to keep going. I think there's a moment where there's going to be a game that mega hit. I mean, sorry, it's already existed. It's called Minecraft, but there's going to be some more of that, right? Like mega hits that are like far from technologically impressive, far from visually impressive.
Well, I wonder where this is going, actually, because, you know, the industry itself these days seems bored. Because every year we've got same old Call of Duty, same old Assassin's Creed, same old FIFA, same old Battlefield, and like in the past few years, every autumn there was some sort of war, you know, between Call of Duty fans, Battlefield fans, and some, I don't know, Titanfall 2 fans. This year, nobody gives a shit about it. Just like people are so full of it, they do not even see fun in arguing about it anymore. I'm not even saying about playing it. Like Battlefield, the new Battlefield is broken. I don't give a shit. The new Call of Duty is blah 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 blah. All right, okay. Same old sales. Halo Infinite is here. Okay, who cares? I mean, it has been running in circles for years.
Yeah.
And there has to be some sort of resolution to it. And I really wonder what it will be.
I think it will come from a small group, small group with no money, because the world has always been like that. You can, you know, we could say the same, I'm sure, in the 50s with the car industry or anything. It's always been the big groups. Now that they know how to make money, they just double down on what they know, you know. And so yeah, you're talking about all these games, and it's kind of like ridiculous in a way, right? Like, wow, you could say the same about the movie industry. You could say the same about everything, frankly. And every time someone comes out of the woods, unknown, and surprises everybody with a small idea that becomes huge, you know. And then they get acquired, and then they do the number 3, number 10, number a million, right? Like for they milk that thing for like 10 years. And it's gross. It's annoying for sure. Like as a creative, even as a customer, I'm bummed by it. Yeah, I'm bothered by it. I'm like, it makes me hate the game industry. It makes me hate the industry. It makes me hate the world in some ways. You know, why is the world receptive to that? Why are we still going after the same franchise you named over and over that don't bring anything. It's so expected. And then this time they bring the loot boxes. Now it's going to be the NFTs or whatever, you know. Yeah, it's sickening. But it's the world, right? It's been like this since ever. So I have hope that it's going to keep, you know, we always have, as sad as it is, it's always been sad in its own way, you know, like maybe not at that scale it is now. And there's always been something that emerges from nowhere that surprises people because money doesn't solve everything. So yeah, let's just wait. Something will show up. I mean, hopefully it'll be part of it.
Yeah, well, but money don't solve everything. You're absolutely right, but this is still business, and the business model is still pretty easy. If something makes money, we should do a sequel or another, you know, another movie.
Yeah.
If it doesn't make money, then we should not.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
I mean, that rant about Call of Duty, Halo, and Battlefield, and other AAA shooter games. In the end, you know, the top management will look at the figures and go like, "Well, it worked out well. Let's do it another game next year."
Yeah, because there's a track like that, you know, and you can. I mean, you know, I hate to say it, but you can blame the gamers more than the business people. I mean, you know, we can blame both if we want to, but it takes two to tango. The day that people just go, fuck it, I'm not interested anymore in those, you know, then the big money people will just, they'll be bummed. They'll go, oh, we gotta stop that.
You know, it's interesting because well, we used to say that the video gaming industry is young and it's a race. It's a very energetic space, and but you know, as fast as the gaming industry came to the most advanced technologies, the most advanced, I mean, graphical sound technologies that are now spread through all the media. I mean, people use video game technologies in movies, education, not the video game technologies per se, but I mean the technologies like Kinect, the technologies that started as video game technologies and then evolved in something bigger. With that same speed, the game development industry came to that, you know, sad state of lack of ideas. Like every summer we have Marvel blockbusters about dinosaurs and shit, and every summer it's the same. So we've got every autumn in the video gaming industry.
And it's worse. You know, it might be worse than the movies, because if you think about it, you could milk like a big video game franchise because of the media that keeps on evolving, which might be, by the way, at some point something that will stop. But right now, it's like every cycle, there's a new technology, new thing, etc. So you can ship again the same game, from the same franchise, with the same story. It doesn't even matter because now it's actualized on a new hardware. That the movie industry doesn't really know that. Even the music industry doesn't know that. I mean, if you listen to the Beatles, it's still the same Beatles today.
Yeah, but there are such things as remasters in the music industry, or even remixes. Remasters mostly. I
mean, how far can you go?
A recent release by Kiss, the Destroyer remaster. It's the 14th anniversary or something. Like whatever.
Yeah, and they do the same with Star Wars, etc. But it's
Star Wars, of course.
Yeah, but it looks like you'll have like franchises that are gonna last longer in the video game industry. If we keep doing this, like we can sell Mario for another 50 years, man.
Yeah.
I don't know that we'll still sell the Beatles in 50 years. That's my point.
Well, I think that it works for many, many, many things in life in general. When something good starts to develop, it eventually turns to shit at some point. Like when remakes and video game remakes and remasters started to appear, some gamers were like, "Oh no, we don't need this. We need new games." And the other group of people was like, "You don't understand, guys. We actually need someone to preserve and save older games in form of remasters for younger generation of gamers." And it's great. I mean. After playing, we still got such remasters like Resident Evil 2, brilliant, and many other games. I will not name all of them, but in general, at some point, it seemed that remakes is a blessing.
Yeah.
But then at some point, I figured that remake. I mean, the word itself is. It's a nice marketing, button, because if you place a word remake on some sort of shitty, forgotten, old, ancient game, people will look at it and think about it as of something important because it deserved a remake.
Yeah.
And there's a next stage. Where's the new ideas, guys? How about some new games? Yeah, remakes are good, but
I don't care for remakes so much, but I do think there's something sad about some of the games that I've loved so much in my young age that I can't play anymore simply because I don't have the systems anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't look. So if you think about a game like Gauntlet 1 or 2, or Archon, I don't know if you remember this one. Those Gauntlet 1, let's say Gauntlet 1 is perfect as is. Like, I don't want a remake. I don't care. I would not. It would. I want the same imperfection. I want the same problems. I want this nostalgia. How do I play Gauntlet today with an emulator? And it's a little bit unofficial. And you gotta have you gotta be a little bit of a hacker to get in there and like install this and that and like download the ROMs, and it seems kind of like not right, etc. So I don't know. As much as if you want to see an old movie from Hitchcock, you can. It's in black and white, and you can, right? There's nothing preventing you from that, like this. But like, how do you do that for games? And that's a little sad, I think, as far as because I think, without even talking about remastering or anything, like that piece of art, like the way it was, like an old song in the '60s or something. You can listen to it today very easily. You got an MP3 somewhere, like on some Spotify, that will give you anything you want. It doesn't exist for games so much.
Yeah, even stores like GOG.com. It was before a pivot in their strategy. It was an abbreviation for good old games.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then they just forgot about it. There's still a lot of good old stuff out there, and I use GOG very often. But it's also the question of the publisher. There were cases when a game was pulled off from Steam because some rights on particular songs that play in this game they were breached, or they ran out of time, and the same goes with the games. The studio can change a publisher, or something else will happen, and the games they tend to just disappear. Of course, there are places like GOG or the Internet Archive or some other. There are some databases and websites where you can still play Dune 2, the building of a dynasty, in your browser. But you cannot save the game. You cannot take it with you. As soon as you close the browser tab, you forgot about the game that you played a couple minutes ago, etc. But yeah, What you are talking about is not remakes and remasters. It's more of reissues of some sort.
Yeah, it's like
Castlevania Collection for the Switch with original graphics and original sound, or Flashback. Do you remember Flashback, the platformer Metroidvania?
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, of course you do. Yeah,
it's
what
French.
a stupid question. It's French, and it's the as far as I know, it's the most the best-selling game made in France.
Was it?
Still to this day, yeah. I guess, but maybe not.
I would have thought Another World was. I didn't know Flashback was even, because it's the same company, but I didn't know they made it better.
Yeah. It's even in World Guinness Records books for that, I believe. I can be wrong.
So weird. I think EA.
Yeah.
published it,
Yeah, the reissue of Flashback was just best because everything they changed is they added the rewind button. So if you fell down a cliff, you can just rewind and play further easily. That's the shit we need. Yeah. Please listen to us. Yeah, missing some games is what I can totally relate to, Raph. Missing, I mean, not missing the games themselves, but missing the opportunity to play them when you just
but in a
have
way,
an idea.
In a way, it's also, maybe it's a curse and a blessing at the same time, because I mean, it's sad that those games disappear, but it's also an opportunity for new generations of developers to recycle some old ideas that now are too old to even be appreciated. It's not a secret that I'm a huge fan of Ultima in the World, Looking Glass games, and in a way, most of my games they were inspired by some of the stuff that I was living when I was a kid, and so they get a second life through new generations of creators, So hopefully in 20 years from now, when Dishonored is like an old piece of crap that nobody wants to touch, there's going to be still some young developer that, I mean, maybe in 20 years from now I won't be that young. Some developer that was young when they played Dishonored back then, and now like they're making something that is inspired by it,
Yeah, it's a way to save ideas too. No doubt about that.
Yeah, whereas imagine in writing, people are still competing with writers from hundreds of years ago. Because media hasn't changed. So it's like, hey, you copied Shakespeare. Oh, no.
And you didn't do it better than him.
And you didn't do it better, so why do you even do it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but games date heavier than books.
Well, I mean, that's it, right? It's a trade-off. It allows it to stay a little more fresh because you can just reactualize with the technology, but your product is perishable. Yeah, which is kind of weird.
One last thing that I wanted to say is that we often forget, under the veil of the drama, business news, breaking news, and huge releases, overall boredom, and some sort of scandalous articles. We often forget that without the developers, without the guys behind their computers, constantly, busy with polishing or developing or researching something. Without these guys, everything else would not even exist. Like without the devs, there would be no video game media, no video game publishers, no video game funds, and no video game stores and platforms and all that shit, and even the technology. So without you guys, this is all pointless. There will be the house of the dev. And remember that and know your price. Hopefully we will meet again in season 2. Raph, thank you again for being a part of it.
Thank you for having
goodbye.
me.
See you soon.
Yeah, goodbye. See you soon.